The sky above the moon of Sereth was filled with drifting fire. Smoke hung like gray curtains over a broken world. The war between humans and the Varn had reached its end, but no one was sure who had won. The silence was the kind that only came after everything worth shouting about had already been destroyed. Ryan walked carefully through the ruins of what used to be a command post. His boots sank into the dust with each step. Pieces of machines lay around him. Metal arms, shattered helmets, burnt armor plates. He wasn't a soldier. He was an engineer assigned to the repair corps, there to fix drones and weapons that others used to fight. But when the front collapsed and communication went dark, he became something else, a survivor looking for signs of life. He checked his scanner, but the signal flickered. The electromagnetic storm made it useless, so he trusted his eyes and ears. Every sound made him pause. Every shadow made his hand tighten around his small plasma torch, the only thing that still worked. The battlefield was no place for kindness. Yet that was all Ryan had left. As he stepped over a half-buried vehicle, he heard something, a faint metallic groan, followed by a soft voice. It wasn't human. The tone was sharp and smooth, almost melodic, but weak. He turned quickly and saw movement under a collapsed transport wing. Something was trapped there. Ryan approached slowly, brushing aside the dust. The sight made him freeze. A Varn warrior lay pinned beneath the wing, her silver armor cracked and dark with fluid. The Varn were humanoid but taller, their features sharper, their skin pale gray with faint glowing lines running across their neck and temples. Her helmet was broken, revealing one eye, golden and bright, staring at him with pain and pride mixed together. Her breathing was shallow, the sound faint and strained. She reached weakly for a weapon that wasn't there. Ryan raised his hands. "Easy," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't reply. Her gaze was steady, cold, waiting for a trick. He knew she expected death. After all, humans in Varn didn't take prisoners, they never had. But Ryan couldn't just walk away. He knelt beside her and looked at the armor. It was built like living metal, moving with her heartbeat. One side had been torn open by an explosion. The armor wasn't just protection, it was part of her body. He'd studied Varn designs before. They bonded their armor through neural links. Any damage to it could cause immense pain. He took a deep breath and reached for his tool bag. She tried to push him away, her voice hoarse. "Human, don't touch me," he shook his head. "If I don't, you'll bleed out. Let me help." Her expression hardened, but she didn't stop him. Maybe she was too weak, or maybe some small part of her wanted to believe he meant what he said. Ryan activated his plasma torch and adjusted it to a lower heat. He began cutting the metal pieces carefully, freeing her from the wing that trapped her. Each movement made the armor pulse faintly, as if alive. When the last piece came loose, the weight lifted and she gasped in pain but also relief. "Can you move?" he asked. She tried, but her body trembled. "My leg unit is damaged." "The armor. It is broken." He looked down. The joint mechanism near her knee was bent inward. That part wasn't too different from human exosuits. He might be able to fix it if she let him. He hesitated. Helping her could be seen as betrayal if his own side found out. But the battlefield was silent now. No one would come for hours, maybe days, and leaving her to die didn't sit right with him. He nodded slowly. "All right, hold still. I'll try to repair it." She blinked in disbelief. "You would fix the armor of your enemy?" He gave a faint smile. "I fix broken things. That's my job. Doesn't matter who wears it." For a long second she just looked at him. Then she lowered her head slightly, as if giving silent permission. Ryan began working. His fingers moved carefully over the strange armor. The surface shifted under his touch, warm, almost like skin. The organic metal responded to every adjustment. He had to be precise. If he cut too deep or too fast, the neural link could cause her unbearable pain. As he worked, she watched him silently. The only sounds were the hum of his torch and the soft hum of her armor trying to heal itself. Then, as he adjusted one of the plates, she suddenly flinched and let out a quiet cry. Ryan froze instantly. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "Did that hurt?" Her voice trembled slightly. "It feels... the armor is part of me." That simple statement made him realize how delicate this was. He slowed his hands, working as gently as he could. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll be careful." Something changed after that. She didn't look at him with hatred anymore. Just curiosity and confusion. Minutes passed like hours. Ryan wiped the dust from his visor and checked his progress. Almost done, he said softly. She whispered something he barely heard. Why, do you help me? Ryan didn't answer right away. He stared at the broken moon horizon, the endless ruins and the bodies of soldiers, human and Varn alike. Then he said, because someone has to stop breaking things and start fixing them, even if it's just once. Her golden eye softened, but she said nothing more. When the last connection sparked back to life, the armor shifted smoothly again, responding to her movements. She sat up slowly, her body trembling with exhaustion. Ryan stepped back, watching her test her balance. It should hold for now, but you'll need proper repairs soon. She stood with effort. The glow lines along her armor flickered weakly but steady. You fixed it completely, he shrugged. Mostly. Don't run too fast. She looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, you risked your life for an enemy. I just did what I could, he replied. Silence stretched between them again. Then she asked, what is your name, human? Ryan, he said simply. You? Kaelra, she answered after a pause. Commander of the Varn 2nd Legion. He blinked. A commander? That meant she wasn't just any soldier. She was one of their elite leaders. That made this even more dangerous. Before he could respond, a distant rumble echoed through the ruins. His radar flashed, movement nearby. Automatic drones still patrolling the area, both human and Varn. If either side found them together, they'd both be shot on sight. Kaelra turned sharply toward the sound, her armor glowing faintly. We must hide. Ryan nodded and helped her move behind the wreckage of a tank. They crouched low as 2 scout drones passed overhead, scanning the area with red beams. Ryan held his breath until the lights faded. When the danger passed, Kaelra looked at him again. If your people see you with me, they will call you a traitor. He gave a small laugh, tired and sincere. Wouldn't be the first time someone's called me that. Her expression softened for the first time. It wasn't a smile, but it was close. She adjusted the damaged shoulder plate and looked at the moon above them. This war is madness. You fix things, yet we destroy. Perhaps your kind is not as I was told, Ryan replied quietly. And maybe yours isn't either. For the first time in hours, the wind carried no smoke, just silence. 2 enemies sat side by side beneath a ruined sky, unsure what tomorrow would bring. As Kaelra rested, Ryan checked the scanner again. Signal's weak, he muttered. If I can boost it, maybe I can call for help. Kaelra glanced at him. You would call your people? They will kill me. He hesitated. Maybe. Or maybe they'll see what I saw. She shook her head faintly. Humans are not known for mercy. Neither are the Varn, he said gently. They looked at each other again, and the truth hung in the air. Neither side was innocent. But maybe, just maybe, something could change here. Kaelra's breathing slowed, exhaustion finally catching up to her. She leaned back against the wreckage and whispered, Be careful, Ryan. The armor may be fixed, but not the world. He looked at her with quiet surprise. Then I'll start with what I can fix, he said softly. The fires in the distance burned low. The battlefield was silent again, but this time it wasn't empty. It held 2 souls who dared to stop fighting, if only for one night. The sun of Sereth never rose properly. It only glowed faintly through the dust and broken sky. Morning light struggled to reach the surface. Ryan woke to that pale glow, lying against the wreckage of a burnt transport. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then the distant sound of falling metal reminded him. The war might have paused, but it wasn't over. Beside him sat Kaelra, her armor dimly shining in the weak light. She was awake, silent, watching the horizon where fire still flickered far away. Her golden eye glowed faintly through her cracked visor. The damage to her armor had stabilized overnight. The self-repair system worked better once Ryan's adjustments had taken hold. He pushed himself up, stretching his sore arms. You didn't sleep, he said quietly. Kaelra shook her head. Varn do not rest easily after battle. The memories. They stay loud, Ryan nodded. Humans too. He reached for his bag and took out a small ration bar. He tore it in half and offered one piece. You hungry? She looked at it curiously. That is... human food? Yeah, it's not great, he admitted, but it keeps you alive. After a pause, Kaelra accepted it. Her hand was steady, her fingers long and strong, covered in the faint sheen of silver armor. She took a careful bite, her expression unreadable. "It tastes like metal and salt," she said softly. Ryan laughed quietly. "That's pretty much what it is." For a brief moment, the tension faded. The sound of quiet laughter seemed strange on a battlefield, almost wrong, but it was also human. Then Kelra's gaze turned serious again. "Why do you help me, Ryan?" she asked. "You risk your life for an enemy who may not spare you later." He looked down at his hands stained with oil and dust. "Because I was tired of watching everything fall apart," he said. "Machines, people, whole cities. I thought maybe fixing one thing, just one, could make a difference." Kelra studied him carefully. "You think one act can change the course of war?" Ryan met her gaze. "It's a start." For a moment, neither spoke. The wind carried the faint sound of crackling fire from far away. The smell of burnt metal hung heavy in the air. Kelra finally said, "Among my kind, mercy is weakness. We are taught to conquer, not to heal. Yet you repair even what should be destroyed." He smiled faintly. "Guess I'm not very good at following orders." Something in her eyes softened. She turned away, her gaze falling on the ground where her weapon lay broken. "My people will not forgive this," she said. "If they learn I accepted help from a human, they will call me dishonored. My command, my name, my place, all gone." Ryan frowned. "Then don't tell them." She shook her head slowly. "It is not that simple. The armor remembers. It records everything, touch, voice, action. It knows that you fixed it." He blinked. "Your armor? Records?" "Yes, it is alive," she explained quietly. "It binds with our mind and carries memory. Even if I wanted to hide it, the armor would not lie." Ryan stared at the silver plates now sealed smoothly where they had once been cracked. "Then maybe," he said, "you should teach it to forgive too." Her lips parted slightly in surprise. "You think a machine can forgive?" "I think people can," he said. "Machines only follow what we tell them." Kelra looked at him for a long moment as if trying to understand something she had never considered. Then she said, almost to herself, "Strange words for a species that destroyed half a galaxy." He sighed. "Maybe. But we built it back too." They sat in silence again, the distant hum of broken engines echoing around them. Time passed slowly. Ryan began repairing his communicator, trying to connect with any nearby human frequencies. But the interference was strong. Every time he tried to boost the signal, it flickered and died. Kelra watched him work. "You have the hands of a craftsman," she said. "Precise, patient. You treat even dead metal like it is alive." He smiled without looking up. "Metal listens better than people." That made her laugh softly, a quiet, smooth sound that carried no threat. "You are strange, Rian of humans." "I get that a lot," he said. But then her tone changed again, quieter, uncertain. "You should not stay here. When my people return, they will kill you." He looked up at her. "And what about you?" "They will question me, perhaps punish me." She paused, her gaze falling to her repaired leg armor. "But they will not believe that a human fixed it to save me. They will think I captured you and forced you to work. That lie may protect us both." Ryan stared at her, trying to read her expression. "And you'll let them believe that?" She nodded once. "It is the only way." Before he could reply, the ground shook beneath them. A low rumble spread through the wreckage. Dust fell from the broken walls. Rian grabbed his scanner, 3 moving signals approaching fast. "Drones," he said. "Military ones. They're scanning for survivors." Kelra's armor shifted, glowing faintly as it prepared to defend her. "Yours or mine?" He checked again. "Both." They moved quickly behind the wreckage, crouching low. Rian could see the red and blue lights of the drones sweeping across the battlefield. If either set detected them, both sides would open fire. No one wanted survivors of mixed species. Kelra whispered, "If we are found together, it will mean execution, for both of us." "Then we stay quiet," Ryan replied. They waited as the drones hovered nearby. The red beam passed just inches from their faces. Ryan held his breath. Kelra's hand rested lightly against her chest plate, her armor humming softly as if trying to resist the scan. The sound was faint, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Finally, the drones turned away, moving toward the horizon. When the sound faded, Ryan exhaled slowly. "That was close." Kelra looked at him. "You did not move." "You were calm," he shrugged. I learned to keep still when fixing delicate machines. She tilted her head slightly. And when facing death? He smiled faintly. Same rule applies. Be careful and don't rush. Her expression softened again. For a moment, she almost smiled. When the danger passed, they decided to move toward the old comm tower visible in the distance. If they could reach it, they might send a distress signal before another patrol arrived. Kelra limped slightly, and Rion supported her when she stumbled. The armor made soft sounds as it adjusted to her movement. You are slowing yourself down, she said. Leave me. You can move faster alone. Rion shook his head. I'm not leaving you. Humans are foolish, she murmured. You waste your strength on lost causes. Then maybe that's why we survive, he said. They reached the base of the tower after an hour of slow movement. The structure leaned dangerously but still stood. Ryan began searching for a way to power the old comm system. Kelra watched him work again, her curiosity growing stronger. She had seen humans fight, scream, and destroy, but never like this. When he connected the final wire, the small console flickered to life. Got it, he said with a grin. Signal's weak, but maybe enough. Kelra stepped closer. You will call your command? Maybe, he said. But if they come here, they'll bring more guns than medics. She nodded quietly. So you will not call them? He smiled faintly. Not yet. I'll think of something better. Kelra touched her chest plate where the repair line still glowed faintly. You risk much for me. If your leaders knew, what would they do? Ryan's voice turned quiet. Probably the same as yours, call it betrayal. Then why? She asked again. Why continue? He looked up at the broken sky. Because for once I'd rather fix something than break it, even if it cost me. Her armor glowed faintly in response, as if echoing his words. She stepped closer, studying his face carefully. You speak like a builder, not a warrior. Maybe warriors should start building instead, he replied softly. For a long moment they stood in silence. Then Kelra said, If peace ever comes, it will be because of people like you. He looked at her. And people like you, those who give others a chance. Their eyes met, and for that brief second, they weren't human or Varn. They were just two souls standing in the ashes, trying to understand what kindness meant in a world that had forgotten it. Suddenly the console beeped. The signal caught a weak transmission, static-filled but human. Rion leaned close. This is Rion Call, Repair Corps, Grid 7C, any survivors? A distorted voice replied faintly. Copy. Rion, hold position. Rescue team inbound, he froze. A rescue team was coming. But that meant soldiers, orders, and questions. Kelra looked at him, realizing the same thing. You must go, she said quickly. If they find me here, I won't leave you, he interrupted. You have no choice, she said firmly. They will kill me before they listen. Ryan's heart pounded. He looked at her armor, at the seam he'd fixed, glowing softly in the dim light. He had repaired the metal, but now he didn't know how to protect the life inside it. Kelra placed her hand gently over his. You fixed my armor, Ryan, but you also fixed something else. He looked up, confused. What? She met his gaze, her voice soft. You reminded me what mercy feels like. Before he could reply, she turned and began walking toward the shattered cliffs, her armor flickering with light. The rising dust hid her shape as she disappeared into the ruins. Ryan stood there silent, the weak comm signal still humming in the background. The words she had said stayed with him. You reminded me what mercy feels like. He stared at the broken moon and whispered, Be careful, Kelra. And for the first time since the war began, he meant it, not as a warning but as a wish. The moon of Sereth was quiet now, but its silence was heavy. The distant fires had mostly burned out, leaving behind ash and shadow. Ryan moved carefully over the shattered landscape, scanning for Kelra. He knew she hadn't vanished. Varn warriors didn't disappear without purpose, but the thought of her alone in the ruins made his chest tighten. Every step he took left faint marks in the dust, evidence of his presence in a world that had been reduced to broken metal and shattered lives. His eyes searched every shadow. Every twisted vehicle and collapsed structure seemed alive with danger. The war might have paused, but the memory of it lingered everywhere. Then he saw her, a glimmer of silver near the remains of a command bunker. Kelra crouched beside a broken transport, her armor reflecting the pale light, patched but imperfect. She had begun examining the wreckage, her golden eyes sharp, scanning the horizon. She moved with careful precision, aware of every sound, every tremor beneath her feet. Ryan approached slowly. "Kelra," he called softly. "It's me." She turned, her gaze steady. "Ryan," she replied. Her voice carried no warmth, but it wasn't hostile either. It was a statement of fact. He knelt beside her. "I came to make sure you're all right." Kelra studied him for a long moment. Then she gestured toward the broken transport. "I am functional. But this ship, it will not fly. We will need a shuttle if we are to leave this moon safely." Ryan nodded, glancing at the wreckage. The shuttle had been a transport for both humans and Varn, abandoned during the final battles. Most of its systems were destroyed, but it was repairable, if they worked together. "I can try to fix it," he said. "But I'll need your help. Your armor, it can interface with the ship's systems." Kelra hesitated, then finally nodded. "Very well. But know this, human. If you fail, the consequences will be yours alone." Ryan gave a faint smile. "I always take responsibility for my work." Together, they began moving toward the shuttle. Kelra limped slightly, the repaired leg plate still weak from the previous day's battle. Ryan supported her, careful not to put weight on the damaged areas. Her armor hummed softly under his hands, alive and responsive. As they worked, Kelra asked, "Why do you care so much about machines? You risk your life for them just as you risked it for me." Ryan paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "Because machines obey. They listen, people don't always. But if I can fix one thing, maybe I can learn to fix more." Kelra tilted her head. "You speak as though this is not a war." He shook his head. "No, it's a war. But fixing something, even if it's just a ship or armor, it reminds you there's more than destruction." For a long moment she was silent. Then she said softly, "Among my kind, mercy is a rare trait. I was trained to conquer, to obey, to destroy. Yet, you show me mercy." Ryan met her gaze. "And you, let me show it." Her golden eyes softened for a moment. "Perhaps this is why I'm alive." The shuttle loomed ahead, a hulking structure of twisted metal. Ryan set down his tool bag and examined the systems. "Most of the core circuits are intact," he said. "The power cells are fried, but I can reroute some energy through your armor. It will give us just enough juice to get the engines running." Kelra crouched beside him, her fingers dancing over the interface panel on her gauntlet. She connected a glowing neural link to the ship. A wave of light passed from her armor to the shuttle, and for a moment the ship hummed faintly, responding to her touch. "Good," Ryan said. "Now we just need to stabilize the controls." The work was slow. Every adjustment had to be precise. A single misstep could fry the systems, or worse, trigger a failsafe that would destroy the shuttle completely. Ryan noticed how Kelra flinched when he worked near the neural link. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "Does that hurt?" She shook her head. "It feels unusual, but not painful." "Your hands, they are careful." He smiled faintly. "I always try to be." Hours passed. They worked in near silence, speaking only when necessary. The ship's systems slowly began to respond. The engines purred faintly as energy from Kelra's armor flowed into them. Ryan adjusted wiring and power conduits, while Kelra stabilized the neural link. The trust between them grew with every successful step. But as the final panels closed, Ryan noticed something. The armor he had repaired was glowing faintly in an unusual pattern. He looked at Kelra. "The repair, it's stabilizing, but your armor, it's adapting to the ship." She glanced down at herself. "It senses what is needed, perhaps. It trusts you." Ryan's fingers hesitated over the final connector. "This is the last step. Are you ready?" Kelra nodded. "Yes, complete the process." He connected the last wire. The ship shuddered softly. Then a steady glow spread across the panels. The engines hummed, weak but functional. The shuttle was alive. Kelra exhaled, leaning back against the hull. "It is operational. You did well." Ryan smiled faintly. "We did well. Together." Her gaze lingered on him, unspoken questions in her golden eyes. He understood. The bond they had formed, human and Varn, warrior and repairer, was unusual, dangerous, but it was real. A sudden movement in the distance snapped them both to attention. A patrol of Varn drones appeared, scanning the ruins. Their red lights swept over the battlefield. Kelra's armor flared faintly as she prepared to defend herself. Ryan grabbed her arm. "Wait, don't engage them." She looked at him, surprised. Why not? They will kill you or me. Because, he said firmly, we don't need to fight. Not yet. They crouched low behind the shuttle as the drones passed. Ryan held his breath, counting the seconds. Kelra's armor hummed softly, synchronizing with his heartbeat. Finally, the patrol moved on. You trust me? Kelra said quietly. Rion nodded. I do. And you trust me too. For the first time, she allowed herself a small smile hidden beneath her visor. Perhaps this is a lesson in mercy. They took a moment to rest. The battle-scarred landscape stretched endlessly around them. Broken vehicles, shattered armor, and twisted metal littered the ground. But among the ruins there was life, two unlikely allies standing together. Kelra spoke again, her voice low. If we leave this place, what will you do? Your people will question your loyalty. I will answer truthfully, Rion said. I did what I thought was right. She studied him carefully. And if it cost you your life? Ryan looked at her steady. Then at least I know I tried. A faint breeze carried the smell of burnt metal and ash. The world was broken, but they were alive. That mattered. They moved toward the shuttle, ready to leave, when Kelra paused. Rion, one thing more. He turned. What is it? She hesitated, then whispered, Be careful. Not with the armor. With everything else. This world. It does not forgive lightly. Ryan nodded. I will. The shuttle's engines purred louder, steady and strong now. The glow from Kelra's armor reflected across the panels, the faint hum like a heartbeat. Ryan climbed in first, then helped Kelra into the pilot seat. She moved with precision, the neural link connecting seamlessly to the ship's systems. As the shuttle lifted from the ground, Ryan looked out at the battlefield one last time. The fires still burned faintly. The ruins stretched endlessly, but the silence was no longer oppressive. They had survived. They had helped each other, and in a world built on war, that small act of cooperation felt revolutionary. Kelra's voice broke the quiet. You did well, human. Do not forget what you have done here, Ryan smiled faintly. I won't, and neither will you, I think. The shuttle glided over the ruins, leaving the broken battlefield behind. Ryan and Kelra sat side by side, human and Varn, engineer and commander, both aware that this moment was more than survival. It was a choice, proof that even in a universe ruled by war, mercy and cooperation could thrive. The stars above Sereth sparkled faintly, and for the first time in a long time, the future seemed possible. And so, amid the silence and ruins, the bond between Ryan and Kelra grew stronger, two souls who dared to repair, to trust, and to hope. The shuttle lifted higher into the pale sky of Sereth, moving steadily over the cratered battlefield. Rion watched the ruins shrink beneath them, the fires now little more than glowing embers. For a moment there was silence between him and Kelra, a silence that carried the weight of everything they had survived. Kelra adjusted the neural link, her golden eye scanning the ship's systems. The engines are stable, she said softly. We should reach the human command post soon. Ryan nodded. And after that? He asked, though he already feared the answer. Her gaze was steady, but there was a shadow in it. After that, we face consequences. My people will not forgive what I have done, and yours may not understand why you risked everything to help an enemy. He swallowed. Maybe, but I don't regret it. Not for a second. Kelra looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice quiet but firm. Ryan, there is something you must understand. When we land, the choice will not be yours alone. Both our lives, and perhaps the future of our people, will depend on one decision. Ryan felt a chill. He had prepared for danger, for battle, for destruction, but he had not prepared for choice that could change everything. The shuttle passed over the edge of a canyon, revealing the human command post far below. It was a sprawling complex of metal and stone, still active despite the war's devastation. Soldiers moved quickly, checking perimeter defenses, scanning the horizon for threats. Drones hovered overhead, their sensors blinking red and blue. Kelra's hands hovered over the controls. If they detect me, if they see me repaired by human hands, my people will call it treason. Ryan reached out and touched her arm lightly. Then we make sure they don't detect it. We control what they see. Her armor hummed in response, as if acknowledging his words. She nodded. Very well, but we must be precise. Any mistake, and all is lost. As they approached the landing zone, Ryan activated the shuttle's stealth protocol. The ship dipped low, moving behind a ridge to avoid detection. Kelra's neural link interfaced with the systems, masking the ship's energy signature. The engines purred quietly, invisible to the scanning drones above. "Almost there," Kelra whispered. Ryan tightened his grip on the seat. Just a little further. The shuttle touched down softly, hidden from view. Rian helped Kelra out first, careful to shield her repaired armor from prying eyes. Soldiers passed nearby, unaware of the extraordinary pair just meters away. Kelra turned to him. "This is it," she said. "Once we step into their world, we cannot retreat. The choice will be ours, and ours alone." He nodded, understanding. "Then we face it together." They moved quickly through the shadows toward the command center. Every step was careful, calculated. The weight of the repaired armor on Kelra's shoulders seemed heavier now. Not physically, but with responsibility. She was a commander, a symbol of her people, and Ryan had touched that symbol with human hands. As they reached the entrance, alarms suddenly blared. Ryan's heart raced. "They've detected something," he shouted. Kelra's armor flared as she raised a defensive shield. "Prepare yourself," she said. Soldiers emerged from the command post, weapons drawn. But instead of attacking, they hesitated. Their eyes widened as they saw Kelra's repaired armor, the subtle glow of human intervention. Whispers spread among them. Questions, confusion, disbelief. The Varn commander, towering and imposing, stepped forward from the group. His gaze fell on Kelra. "What is this?" he demanded. "Why does your armor bear human repair?" Kelra stood tall despite the weight of judgment. "Because he saved my life," she said, her voice steady. "Because in a world of war, mercy still matters." Ryan stepped forward. "I did what I thought was right. I fixed what was broken. Not for honor, not for reward. Just because it needed fixing." The Varn commander's eyes narrowed. "You risked your life. For a human?" Kelra's gaze did not waver. "Yes, and I survived because of it." Rion looked around at the soldiers, human and Varn alike. The tension was thick, heavy enough to crush the unprepared. He took a deep breath and raised his voice. "If you kill us for showing mercy, you prove that war has nothing to do with strength or honor. It only proves fear." For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of Kelra's armor and the shuttle's engines cooling nearby. Then, unexpectedly, a young Varn soldier stepped forward. Perhaps he is right," the soldier said. "Perhaps there is more to strength than destruction." Murmurs spread through the ranks. Soldiers whispered among themselves, questioning orders, questioning everything they had been taught. Rion saw the doubt in their eyes, the small flicker of change that mercy could bring. The Varn commander's gaze hardened. "You speak of change," he said, "yet your words are untested. You risk treason. You risk dishonor." Kelra stepped closer to Ryan, placing a hand on his arm. "And yet," she said softly, "risk can also mean hope." The human soldiers, witnessing the exchange, began to nod in agreement. Some lowered their weapons slightly, inspired by the courage and integrity before them. Ryan took a deep breath, knowing the final moment had arrived. "We can choose to continue this cycle of war," he said, "or we can choose to break it. One act of mercy can ripple across worlds. That act starts here." The silence that followed was electric. Every soldier felt it, the weight of possibility. Kelra's armor glowed faintly, as if echoing his words, and even the Varn commander seemed momentarily unsure. Then, in a decision that would alter the course of history, Kelra raised her voice. "I will stand with him," she declared. "Not because he is human, but because he did what was right. We will not let fear dictate our actions." Ryan felt a surge of hope. Together, human and Varn, they had chosen mercy over destruction, courage over obedience. The Varn commander's face darkened, but he did not attack. Something in the determination of Kelra, in the calm resolve of Ryan, forced him to pause. "You dare defy the code?" he demanded. "I defy it because the code is broken," Kelra said firmly. "We can repair it, not with weapons, but with our choices." For the first time, the commander seemed to consider her words. The soldiers around him, human and Varn alike, began to lower their weapons. The tension in the air shifted from fear to possibility. Rion glanced at Kelra, seeing both strength and vulnerability in her golden eyes. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. She nodded, her voice quiet but firm. "Yes, but it is a beginning worth taking." The young Varn soldier stepped forward again. "Then let it be known," he said, "that one act of mercy may hold more power than 10,000 acts of war." Ryan smiled faintly. It was not the victory of battle, it was the victory of choice. The world around them was still broken, but in that moment, they had begun to repair more than machines or armor. They had begun to repair hearts, and perhaps even the foundations of peace. Kelra turned to the human soldiers. "If we are to survive," she said, "we must leave this place together. And if we are challenged again, let us remember what we have done here." The shuttle waited nearby, engines humming softly. Rayan climbed inside first, then helped Kelra into the pilot seat. She adjusted the controls, connecting with the ship seamlessly. As the shuttle lifted off, leaving the command post behind, Rayan looked back at the soldiers, both human and Varn, standing in silence, staring at the sky. They had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had saved a Varn commander, and she had chosen mercy over fear. Rayan felt a sense of quiet triumph. "We did it," he said softly. Kelra looked at him, her golden eyes shining with pride and caution. "Yes, but this is only the first choice. The next will be harder," Rion nodded. "I know, but whatever comes, we face it together." The shuttle glided through the thin atmosphere of Sereth, leaving the battlefield far below. The fires burned faintly in the distance and the ruins stretched endlessly. Yet above the chaos, a fragile hope had begun to shine. Kelra's armor glowed softly, the repaired seams visible, a testament to trust and collaboration. Rion glanced at her, realizing that the simple act of repair had done more than restore metal. It had restored faith, in him, in her, and perhaps in both their peoples. As the stars appeared above Sereth, Ryan whispered quietly, "Be careful, Kelra. The world may still test us." She looked at him, her expression calm and determined. "I will, and I know you will too." For the first time in a long while, two souls, human and Varn, felt the weight of possibility. They had chosen courage over fear, mercy over destruction, and in that choice they had begun to change not only their own lives but the future of two worlds. The shuttle disappeared into the pale sky, leaving Sereth behind. Below, the soldiers of both sides would remember the day mercy conquered fear, the day a human and a Varn commander dared to make the choice that would ripple across the galaxy. And for Ryan and Kelra, that choice had only just begun. The shuttle drifted silently through the stars, Sereth shrinking behind them. Inside, Ryan and Kelra sat in quiet reflection, the hum of the engines filling the space around them. It was a rare calm, a fragile moment after weeks of chaos, but neither spoke immediately. Words felt unnecessary. The bond they had formed was stronger than conversation. Kelra adjusted her neural link, watching the ship's systems glow in soft waves. "The journey is long," she said finally, her voice breaking the silence. "And when we reach your command post, we will be tested again." Rian nodded, leaning back in his seat. "I know, but whatever happens, we've already made a difference. Sometimes that's enough." Her golden eye lingered on him. "You speak as though one act can change everything. But this universe, it is not so simple." "Maybe not," Ryan replied softly. "But it is a start, and starts matter more than you think." The shuttle's lights reflected on Kelra's silver armor, highlighting the seams he had repaired. She glanced down at them, then looked back at him. "I still cannot believe you fixed my armor," she admitted. "It is not just metal. It is part of me, part of my very being." Ryan shrugged lightly. "I always try to fix what's broken. Sometimes that's machines. Sometimes it's people." Kelra's gaze softened. She had witnessed countless humans in battle, screaming, killing, and destroying without pause. Rian was different. He repaired, he trusted, he acted with care. And in a galaxy ruled by war, that difference was dangerous, revolutionary, and inspiring all at once. Hours passed. The stars streaked past the windows as the shuttle traveled toward the human command post. Finally, the familiar glow of a settlement appeared in the distance. Lights arranged in grids, engines of industry still running despite the devastation around them. Kelra stiffened. "This is the moment of truth," she said. "Your people will question you, my people. If they learn what has happened, may not forgive me." Rion placed a reassuring hand on hers. "We'll face it together. And maybe, just maybe, we can teach them something about mercy. The shuttle descended into the landing area, engines quieting as it touched down softly. Soldiers approached, their weapons drawn, but hesitation was clear in their movements. They had heard whispers, seen reports, and now stood uncertain before the unusual pair that had arrived from the battlefield. Ryan stepped forward first. "I am Ryan Call," he announced. "Repair Corps, Grid 7C. I have returned with a survivor of the Varn 2nd Legion. She is alive because we worked together." Kaelra emerged next, her armor glowing faintly. The repaired seams a visible testament to the story she carried. The soldiers whispered among themselves. Many had fought against her people. Many had feared her. And yet here she was, standing beside a human, alive because of his careful hands. The commander of the human post stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "Ryan, explain this," he demanded. "I found her wounded on Sereth," Ryan explained calmly. "She could have died. I repaired her armor. I helped her survive. Nothing more. And she spared me in return. That is all you need to know," the human soldiers murmured. Some were shocked. Some were angry. But all listened. Kaelra's gaze was steady, her golden eye meeting each soldier's in turn. She made no demands, offered no threat. She simply stood and let the truth speak for itself. Finally, the commander spoke again. "And you, Kaelra, why did you allow this?" Kaelra met his gaze. "Because it was right," she said firmly. "Because mercy can be stronger than fear. Because if I had not been repaired, we would both have perished, and the war would have continued without choice, without hope." A tense silence followed. The soldiers did not move. The weight of her words settled over the post like a thick fog. Then slowly the younger soldiers began to lower their weapons. They had seen enough to understand that this was not betrayal. It was courage and perhaps even wisdom. Ryan glanced at Kaelra. "You see?" he whispered. "Even in a world built on war, choices can change the path forward." Her golden eye softened. "And yet one act does not erase what has been done." "No," Ryan admitted. "But it begins something. A single spark can light a galaxy if it is strong enough." The human commander, still tense, finally spoke. "You risked your life, human. And you, Kaelra, defied your own code. Both of you showed something extraordinary today. Perhaps it is worth considering." Kaelra inclined her head slightly. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. Her people would question her. Her honor might be challenged. But here, in this moment, she felt the quiet triumph of choice, the power to act differently, to act with mercy. As the soldiers began to retreat, whispers spreading through the ranks, Kaelra turned to Ryan. "What now?" she asked softly. Ryan looked at the repaired seams of her armor, glowing faintly in the post's light. "Now we continue. We continue to repair, to teach, to show that strength is more than fighting. It is care, it is courage, it is mercy." Kaelra studied him. "You speak with such certainty, Ryan, even after all we have seen, all we have endured." "I learned long ago," he said quietly, "that certainty comes not from knowing the future, but from choosing to do what is right in the present." She nodded. "Then I will follow you, human, if only to see where your choices lead." The post began to settle, soldiers whispering about the events, unsure how to reconcile what they had witnessed. Kaelra's armor glowed faintly, reflecting the understanding between her and Ryan. This small act, a simple repair, a choice to save a life, had begun to change everything. Ryan glanced at the horizon, where the stars began to shimmer brighter. "Do you remember what you told me on Sereth?" he asked. Kaelra tilted her head. "Yes. Be careful. And you said it to me," he continued, a faint smile on his lips. I finally understand what you meant." Kaelra's golden eye met his. "And what is that?" "To be careful is not just about avoiding danger," he said softly. "It is about understanding the weight of our choices. It is about knowing that what we repair, protect, and nurture can change lives. That is what I will carry forward." Her expression softened, and for the first time she allowed herself a small, genuine smile beneath the visor. "Then perhaps I was right to trust you, Ryan. Not because you are human, but because you are careful." Ryan's smile grew. "And you? You are more than your armor. More than a commander. You are capable of mercy, courage, and change. That is why I repaired you." She looked down at the faint glow of the repaired seams, then back at him. "Then perhaps this galaxy is not entirely lost." They stood together for a long moment, the hum of the shuttle quiet behind them, the post settling into its routines. Outside, the stars glimmered faintly, a reminder that even in a galaxy torn by war, small acts of courage and care could shine brightly. Kael'ra turned to leave, then paused. She placed a hand gently on Rion's shoulder. "Remember, human, be careful, not just for yourself, but for what you touch, what you repair, and what you choose." Rion nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I will, and I will never forget." As Kael'ra walked toward the edge of the post, Rion watched her, thinking about everything they had endured together. The repairs, the choices, the trust. They had all led to this moment. In a world defined by war, they had proven that courage and mercy could exist side by side. He looked down at the repaired seams of her armor one last time. Those lines were more than metal, they were a story. A story of life saved, of trust given, and of the quiet power of careful hands. The stars outside continued to shine, indifferent to the struggles below, yet reflecting the promise of change. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of the post, a human and a Varn commander understood something deeper than war. The future was not fixed. It could be shaped, repaired, and protected, one careful choice at a time. Rion whispered to himself softly, almost a prayer. "Be careful, Kael'ra, always." And she, somewhere beyond his sight, whispered back with a small, hopeful smile, "I will, and I will not forget." In that shared understanding across species and across the battlefield, a new story began. A story where mercy mattered, where courage meant more than combat, and where the galaxy might finally learn what careful hands could do. For in repairing armor, Rion had repaired more than metal. He had repaired hope, and that was the beginning of something greater than either of them could have imagined.